It's all about creating your own space. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember when I was in high school, I was not in the music program because I didn't read music and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really want to read music. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really like the whole idea of it. No,
No, class and
yeah.
training and
Yeah, no,
yeah.
no. But I was involved in other things, but I remember that the jazz teacher approached me to join the after school program for music. And I was doing all of the really complicated, like harmonies and such for the alto section
Wow.
in a quartet, right?
Yeah.
And the alto has no bearing on the melody.
No.
Like it doesn't
Yeah.
have anything to do with the melody. It's
Yeah.
all about supporting everyone else. And the only way that I could learn this was by my teacher plonking out the notes on a keyboard on a piano, recording them and sending me home with a tape to memorize.
Mm-hmm. I love
And I
that.
memorized them, and that was how I was in the quartet.
Oh my
And
gosh. I have, by the way, I
yeah.
have a shoebox of tapes that like we're always like, should we digitize these? I was like, no one needs to listen to those.
Yeah.
Me singing Sweeney Todd for 10 hours. I mean, the musicals were
Oh,
different back then, and then
yeah.
until Rent came out, the musicals were very different. So,
Yes, they were. Yeah.
but that's fascinating. So for music, and then MTV was culture for me, which I liked, and I
Sure.
appreciated that. I had younger siblings, so when I got to MTV, that was like kind of neat because my siblings thought that that was important, and like that was sort of like where I was getting my those two were who I was looking at seeing if I was doing the right thing in the world. I got to support Celebrity Deathmatch, which was an animated show in casting, and I came up with this concept of instead of having in person. Oh, maybe you might. I wonder if you would like this. I came up with this concept of having non-in-person castings because for we used to have in-person castings for voiceover, and I just didn't understand why we would need to see only 20 people in a day when we can give people a hotline number. They can call in, leave their voices, leave their number, like almost like I wanted it to be when you're ready, not when you have to be ready. For an audition, if I can give you the space and grace to when you're there, call us. Because that's going to give me what I need to my producers and to the casting director that I was working with back then, versus all the nerves that come into casting. So as you talk about
Yeah.
audio, that was really, and I just became, as I mentioned, I'm a little bit of a artist and talent and actor, and I had some taste of that, but I think I brought that with me on this side of the table to make sure the room was set up like it was an inclusive setup, not like
Hmm.
how do we react to this and how do I best support you based on what you're not getting, but how do I make sure those pieces are all there. And when you're a great listener, that job becomes suddenly easier. So I had to learn to be a great listener. Again, special skill, coping mechanism. Thanks, mom and dad.
Yeah.
Coping
Yeah.
mechanisms, hearing
Maybe
things
not
that
when you
aren't being
wanted, but
said.
yeah.
Yeah, turn superpowers. Yeah, I hear it. I hear it.
Yeah. Make it work for you.
Even in
Yeah.
an interview, I've cast many reality shows, Housewives,
Hmm.
and hours and hours on Bravo and all over, and people would tell stories, and I'm like, but you're telling the story about someone who did something wrong to you. I understand that you're over it, but you're laughing throughout the entire story. So I don't understand if I'm not watching this, and let's pretend our executives aren't watching video, most likely they're hearing it. How am I going to get that emotion across if we're laughing about what happened as opposed to
Hmm.
like getting back into that moment, getting angry again, and then coming out of it and showing where you are today. So even then, I think of how I used and leaned on sound to even develop story arcs and story engines and plot lines and all these like unscripted reality shows.
Yeah.
Because I come from a point in time where TV, where they would say, we want the loudest voice. You know what's louder than anything? Silence.